For those of you who don't know me, my name is Luxon. Xeno is my favorite video game series of all time, and that's basically all I talk about here on this channel. Why am I telling you this? Well, this video is going to be me explaining all the references with every single Xenoblade Chronicles spirit in Smash Ultimate. I am only making this video. I will not be covering any other series in Ultimate, especially ones with even more spirits than Xenoblade. That is all. Anyway, moving on to the actual video, there are 31 Xenoblade spirits in Ultimate. This might be a very long one. I'm not sure how long it's going to be. Unfortunately, Smash really likes to spoil the Xenoblade games that it gives playable fighters, so there will be heavy, but not endgame, spoilers for Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 2 in this video. There won't be any for Xenoblade X, but also Xenoblade X is the one that's stuck on the Wii U, so probably the least amount of you have heard of it. That being said, let's get going because we're going to be here for a while. The first big set of spirits is from Xenoblade 1, and all of these, with one exception that I'll get to later, use official artwork from that game. Xenoblade 1 was a bit unusual when compared to most JRPGs in that it didn't have a lead character designer, it only had outfit designers who designed the different outfits characters would wear, and then the modeling team basically made the models off of that without any direct concept art of what the characters looked like. As such, all of this official art is actually stuff that was drawn over renders of the models, as opposed to being created by any individual lead character designer. This doesn't have any bearing on whether or not it looks good or why it's in the game, I just thought it was interesting trivia. The first Xenoblade spirit is 951, which is just Shulk's fighter spirit, which you get for beating classic mode with Shulk. Shulk is the main character of Xenoblade 1. He's a young weapons developer who's currently studying to try and unlock the secrets of the legendary Monado sword. He lives on the Titan Bionis, which is inhabited by organic life, and is at constant war with the Mechon, man-eating robots which are inhabitants of the Titan Mechonis, which is kinda across the street over an endless sea that is the entire world. And the Monado was a legendary sword allegedly used by the Bionis itself in an old war where the two titans themselves were able to move and fight, and so he wants to unlock its secrets in order to protect his people from the Mechon. The next spirit, 952, is Fiora, Shulk's childhood friend and love interest, who is a party member early on in Xenoblade 1 before she's killed in a Mechon attack on Shulk's hometown. Her body is taken and brought back to Mechonis, where she's basically turned into a cyborg capable of piloting a large Mechon, and eventually is able to overcome her brainwashing and rejoins the party. Shulk's white alternate costume is based on her. The battle against her spirit takes place on the battlefield version of Gower Plain, which is the Xenoblade 1 stage. The music that plays is Time to Fight, which is the main battle theme of Xenoblade 1, and the only condition in the fight is that your defense will be reduced after a little while. Multiple characters in Xenoblade 1 have the ability to lower enemy defense, but bizarrely Fiora is not one of them, so presumably this is a reference to Shulk's ability Slit Edge, which his forward smash is based off of, which has that effect. Fiora is a 3-star 1-slot support spirit, which has the Made of Metal ability, which of course references the fact that she becomes a Mechon. The next spirit, 953, is Mecha Fiora, and bizarrely enough, this is not obtained by enhancing regular Fiora since she is a support spirit and Mecha Fiora is a primary spirit. The battle against her takes place on Reset Bomb Forest with the music You Will Know Our Names. Reset Bomb Forest is a land where nature and technology, represented by humanity, are in constant conflict, which references the Fallen Arm of the Mechonis, which has landed in the Endless Sea and became populated by life from both titans, in which Fiora rejoins the party. You Will Know Our Names is an upbeat pump-up battle theme that plays against certain important enemies, as well as in a couple story scenes, one of them being when you first come in conflict with Fiora in her Mechon, which takes place right when Shulk gets a major power-up. The battle pits you against Corrin using her ult that most resembles Mecha Fiora, which is just because the armor is more similar compared to regular Fiora, so it's not Lucina again, and Shulk in his Fiora ult, with the Ricky Assist trophy appearing. Shulk, Fiora, and Ricky are all party members in Xenoblade 1. This somewhat references the fact that there is a 3-person party limit in battle in that game, and the fact that both Fiora and Ricky appear in Shulk's final smash. Mecha Fiora is a 4-star, 3-slot neutral-type primary spirit with the Jump Up ability, which seems to reference the fact that she has an ability in Xenoblade called Zero Gravity. Spirit 954 is Rein, Shulk's other childhood friend and the beefy one to Shulk's weaker nerd guy. They're close friends, and Rein is often the one who has to bail Shulk out of dangerous situations he gets himself into, but he's also wild and hot-headed, and tends to also get the party in danger himself. Like with regular Fiora, the battle takes place on Battlefield Gower Plain with Time to Fight playing, and this time you're fighting against Ryu with the orange gi, with slow super armor in a timed stamina match. This is all referencing, first off, Rein's muscular appearance, and the fact that gameplay-wise he is a tank, so you're fighting an opponent that is extremely hard to launch and basically just have to win a battle of attrition. Ryu starts out with a beam sword somewhat representing Rein's gun lance weapons, and tends to taunt frequently, referencing Rein's personality and the fact that one of his abilities is called Mad Taunt, which draws enemy attention to him. Ryu will also recover some health periodically, which is both a reference to the fact that Rein has massive staying power, and one of his abilities called Last Stand, which gives him a large amount of HP if he's KO'd while it's active. Rein is a 2-star 1-slot grab-type primary spirit with no effect. Number 955 is Sharla, a medic from the town of Colony 6 who Shulk and Rein encounter after they depart their home of Colony 9. She later joins the party and is a healer who uses a gun, which is sort of unusual, but she's basically able to condense ambient magic in the air into shells and use that to heal people and augment their abilities. She is fought on regular Gower Plain to the theme of Gower Plain. You first meet her on Gower Plain, go figure, and she's represented by a shooting item buffed Zero Suit Samus wielding a ray gun, which basically attractive woman represented by attractive woman. She uses a gun, so Zero Suit is given a gun. Sharla is a 2-star 1-slot support spirit, which gives your fighter a ray gun. Number 956 is Dunban, Fiora's older brother and a mentor figure to her, Shulk, and Rein. He is one of the most revered warriors in all of Bionis and was the previous wielder of the Monado before it gets passed down to Shulk. You first gain control of him in a prologue to the main game taking place a year before it, where he fights in a climactic battle against the large force of Mechon. He also later joins the party in the main game, having passed the Monado down to Shulk and sapped of his use of his right arm by it, forcing him to fight Lefty. His battle takes place on Gower Plain with You All Know Our Names playing, and he is represented by a Mii sword fighter wearing an outfit based on him, and Shulk again using his Fiora alt, representing the fact that Shulk is his student and Fiora is his sister. Both fighters have increased power on their melee weapons, you only need to defeat the Dunban Mii to win, and Shulk will occasionally suddenly have a final smash, which is a reference to the fact that Dunban shows up in it. Dunban is a 3-star 2-slot shield-type primary spirit, with the ability of increasing your sword attack power. Number 957 is Melia, the princess of the High Entia people, a long-lived, magically adept, technologically advanced race that lives higher up on the Bionis than Shulk's human-like Homs. She's later revealed to be half Homs herself, and eventually joins the party, and is then later the primary character of Future Connected, a short epilogue story to Xenoblade 1 that comes with the updated re-release for Switch, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Shulk's pink alt with the silver hair is based on her. Her fight once again takes place on Battlefield Gower Plain with Time to Fight playing. Melia herself is represented by Palutena because they're both staff wielders who use magic attacks, and she is joined by Shulk with his Melia alt. The floor is poisonous, referencing one of Melia's abilities to inflict poison on enemies, and the enemy's magic attacks have increased power because Melia is the black mage of the party. Melia is a 2-star 3-slot neutral type primary spirit with the ability of magic attack up. 958 is Ricky, the Napon, who is another small race that lives in the world of Bionis. He also joins the party as the legendary hero pawn of the remote frontier village, and it's later revealed that he was sent on this quest in order to attempt to repay a debt he has to the village. He's also 40 years old despite his appearance, and the father of many, including 2 other party members who join Shulk and Melia in the Future Connected epilogue that comes with Xenoblade Definitive Edition. Ricky is fought on, wait for it, Gower Plain Omega form to the Gower Plain theme. He himself is represented by Roy Koopa because they have similar body types and Roy is the Koopaling with the most similarities to him, and is also joined by Shulk using his alt that's based on his appearance. Earthquakes occur occasionally because Ricky has an ability that can cause enemies to trip. You get a flower because Ricky specializes in damage over time, and of course the Ricky Assist trophy sometimes appears in battle. Also, the enemy special moves have increased power, which is because Riki has a lot of buffs. Riki is the only Master Spirit from the Xenoblade series, and is the Dojo Master for the Strategist style. Number 959 is Mumkar, a claw-wielding Homs warrior and ally of Dunban's, who starts out as an ally in the prologue of Xenoblade 1, but later seems to betray him to try and get the Minato for himself when he is seemingly captured and killed by the Mechon. It's later revealed in the main game that he actually defected to the side of Mechonis and underwent a procedure to turn him into a cyborg who could pilot a large Mechon like Fiora, but he wasn't brainwashed and acts as Metalface, the main antagonist for a large portion of the game. He is fought on regular Gaur plane without hazards, because one of the hazards is Metalface. 2, you will know our names. He's represented by Wolf in a stamina battle. Wolf has some claw attacks, Mumkar uses claws, and when he's at high damage, Wolf will turn giant and metal, representing the transformation into Metalface. You will know our names also plays in one fight against him. Mumkar is a 2-star, 1-slot, primary attack type spirit who can be enhanced at level 99 into number 960, Metalface. This is the last Xenoblade Chronicles 1 spirit, and the only one to just use a render of his model, because Metalface doesn't have official 2D art, and he is a 4-star, 1-slot attack type primary spirit with the metal and giant properties. Again, referencing the fact that Mumkar was turned into Metalface. Number 961 is Elma, the de facto main character of Xenoblade Chronicles X, because the actual main character is a silent protagonist avatar character who is basically a self-insert for you. Elma is a high-ranking member of the paramilitary organization known as Blade, which was formed by refugees of humanity after the Ark ship carrying them away from the Earth, which was destroyed in a war between 2 different alien factions, crashed on the uncharted planet known as Mythra. The entire plot of the game is basically finding the remnants of humanity and surviving on this new and strange world. Each Xenoblade game takes place in a separate universe. X is the hardest sci-fi out of all of them, so it straight up takes place directly after our own planet is destroyed in the mid-2050s, while 1 and 2 are more sci-fi fantasy and take place in completely original worlds. Elma is fought on Omega Gaur Plane to the Xenoblade Chronicles medley. This medley is of Xenoblade 1 songs. There is no X music in the game, so every X character is represented by a song from 1. She's represented by Bayonetta, using the alt that most closely matches her outfit and hair color, because Bayonetta uses 4 guns and Elma uses 2 guns and 2 swords. Bayonetta is temporarily invincible occasionally, which represents the fact that Elma has an ability to grant that sort of status effect to the party. Her melee weapons have increased power, and she starts with a killing edge because Elma also uses swords. Elma is a 3-star, 2-slot attack-type primary spirit with no special effect. Number 962 is Linley Ku, the very young but very talented engineer who works for Blade and designs a lot of the skells, the mechs that your characters later get access to and can pilot around the world and use in battle. She's fought on Shadow Moses Island, also to the Xenoblade Chronicles medley, with the stage this time representing the Skell Hangar in New Los Angeles, where she does a lot of her work. There are 3 fighters in this battle. Lyn herself is represented by Daisy, and then also Mega Man and Rob are there to reference the skells she works on. You only need to defeat Daisy to win, and Daisy starts the battle with a drill and a back shield equipped, referencing the fact that Lyn is the Shield Trooper class and uses shields and Gatling guns as her primary weapons. Lyn is a 1-star, 1-slot support spirit with the ability of Energy Shot Resist Up, again referencing her tanking ability. Spirit 963 is Lao Huang, a master sniper and member of Blade who joins the party partway through X's story. He's fought on Congo Jungle in battlefield form to the Xenoblade Chronicles medley. The stage choice seems to be a reference to the fact that the first story mission in which you're required to use Lao, and the one where you really get introduced to him, takes place in Noctilum, which is the jungle region of Mythra. Lao himself is represented by Snake, because they look similar and they wear similar outfits and guns, and his shooting items have increased power, and he starts the battle with a staff, which is the sniping weapon in Ultimate. Lao is a 1-star, 1-slot grab-type primary spirit with no special effect. Spirit 964 is Tatsu, a young Naupon and fan unfavorite character in the game, who is not a playable character like Riki is, but instead sort of the ambassador of the Naupon to New Los Angeles. In the X universe, Naupon are the indigenous people of Mythra, who are first discovered and are on good terms with humanity, and they basically support each other trying to protect themselves from other villainous alien factions who have also gotten stuck on the planet. Tatsu doesn't directly fight in battle in X, so instead of there being one fighter that just basically represents him, you fight against 4 different Jigglypuffs with a green hat sort of similar to his outfit, and the Ricky Assist Trophy just basically representing large quantities of Napon. The battle takes place, again on Battlefield Gower Plain to the Gower Plain theme, referencing the fact that Tatsu is first met by the party in Xenoblade X's Plain area. Tatsu is a 1-star, 1-slot support spirit with the Energy Shot Attack Up ability, sort of referencing the fact that he's basically a package deal with Lyn. They're the same age, and he'll tag along with you whenever Lyn is in the party. Spirit 965 is Formula, a generic Skell and one of the many models your characters gain access to at a certain point through X's story. This spirit does not have its own battle because it can only be obtained through summoning, and it is a 2-star, 2-slot support spirit that gives your fighter a super scope, referencing both the fact that Skells have bigger guns, and the fact that I need a bigger gun is a line from a song in Xenoblade X that kind of became a meme. That rounds out all the Xenoblade X spirits, and I forgot to mention this before, but all of those were represented by official renders of their models from the game. From here on out, every spirit is going to be from Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and all of it is going to be official 2D art, either by Masasugu Saito, the main character designer of the game, or by Tetsuya Nomura, who probably needs no introduction, who designed some of the villains, so Jin and Malos were him, and everyone else was Saito. The Xenoblade 2 portion of this video is being recorded about 9 months after the rest of it, and because I'm trying to get 3 videos out in 2 days, I'm going to go through these spirits a little bit quicker than I did the previous ones, because there's even more 2 ones than 1 in X combined. So if I sound different, that's why. First off though, some background information. As seen in the stage with Pyra and Mythra, Xenoblade 2 takes place in the world of Alrest, which is covered by a sea of clouds and has a giant world tree in the center. While Xenoblade 1 had only 2 titans, Xenoblade 2 has a bunch of smaller ones, the biggest of which are their own nation, and each one has a different race of human living on it. Napon are considered a type of human for the purposes of this game, and Rex lives on the back of his grandfather, who's a smaller titan that can only hold about 1 house. In addition to humans, there are also blades in Alrest, a special type of life form that's born from a core crystal. When a human with a certain type of aptitude resonates with a crystal, a blade will be awakened from it and become bonded to that human, who becomes the blade's driver. Drivers and blades working together can perform amazing feats of combat, and basically the entire relationship between drivers and blades and deconstructing that in various ways is a major theme of the plot of Xenoblade 2. The first spirit from that game is 966, Rex himself. He is a young salvager, which means he basically goes diving in the Cloud Sea for artifacts and things to sell for money, and on one of his salvaging jobs, he's hired by a group called Torna, which is run by Malos and Jin, who we'll meet later. The mission is to recover what ends up being Pyra from a sunken ship, and Rex accidentally gets too close to Pyra's body. It seems Malos and Jin are going to try and dispose of her in some way, which causes Jin to kill him, but Pyra then revives him. Turns out that she is a legendary, extremely powerful blade known as the Aegis, and is able to revive Rex, making him into her driver. Pyra's goal is to go to Elysium, where the Architect, the god of the world, resides, and Rex decides to take her there, as one of his main goals is to find Elysium in order to basically find more place for the people of Alrest to live, as all of the Titans are starting to die out. The spirit battle against Rex is the first divergent fight out of the series, because the stage it takes place on and the music that plays are different if you own Pyra and Mythra. If you don't, the battle will take place on Omega Congo Falls with a lava floor hazard. This is a stamina battle, and you will be fighting Shulk in his Charla skin, which is just the closest color to Rex, and Lucina in her pink skin, which is the closest to Pyra, and it's basically a representative fight of Rex and Pyra. It's a stamina battle because RPG, the floor is lava because Pyra has firepower, and Rex Shulk will start with a fire bar representing Pyra's sword. The music that plays is Battle Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which is one of the few Xenoblade 2 songs in the launch version of Ultimate. It's just the main battle theme of 2, not really a big deal there. If you do own Pyra and Mythra, the fighters will be the same. Bizarrely, Lucina isn't replaced with Pyra and Mythra, but you will instead be fighting on the Cloud Sea of Alrest Omega form. The lava floor is removed, and the music instead will be Argentum, which is the music that plays in the Argentum Trade Guild, which is one of the first areas you go to in Xenoblade 2, and is sort of representative of early game Rex. Rex is a 3-star shield type primary spirit with 3 slots, with the special trait of being able to be enhanced at level 99, although this was only added in the update Pyra and Mythra were added into the game, and we'll talk about his enhanced spirit later on. Number 967 is Pyra herself. This is a pre-fighter Pyra, so this is just using her official art from the game. Her fight is basically Rex's fight too. Instead of Shulk and Lucina, it's Lucina and Shulk. The battle takes place on Battlefield Halberd, representing the Rex ship in which she's first found. She has a fire bar, the floor is lava, and the enemy's melee weapons have increased power because she's a blade with a sword. The music that plays is Still Move Forward, the battle theme that plays during the Rex ship section of the game. Pyra is a 4-star support spirit that takes up 1 slot and has the assist killer property, sort of referencing how she's a powerful blade and as such would be a good counter to other blades. Number 968 is Mythra, the original form of the Aegis, who was sealed away 500 years ago after she destroyed 3 titans. She reveals herself partway through the plot of Xenoblade 2, in a fight where Rex and Pyra alone would have died, so she comes out using her much greater power in order to save them. Her backstory and such is expanded a lot throughout the main game of Xenoblade 2, as well as the DLC expansion Torna the Golden Country, where we eventually see that she wasn't the root cause of all the destruction she's blamed for, and Pyra is basically a coping mechanism for the trauma experiencing all the death as a result of the fight 500 years ago. Mythra's fight again has Shulk representing Rex, but instead of Lucina, we now have Corrin in her alt color that most resembles Mythra. The battle takes place on Battlefield Gower Plain. The enemy will charge up a powerful final smash and start with a beam sword, which just references Mythra's great power and the fact that her sword is a lightsaber, Pyra is fire element, and Mythra is a light element, and Still Move Forward again plays. Mythra is a 4-star support spirit that takes up 2 slots and has the critical hit up 2 property, which references Mythra having an extremely high critical hit rate and skills that take advantage of that. Number 969 is Nia, a sassy catgirl driver who was once a member of Torna, but after seeing they were willing to kill Rex and a bunch of innocents in order to further their plans, she defects and eventually joins the party. She's represented by a Mii Brawler wearing her outfit, she fights with Chakram, so Brawler is the closest Mii type to that, and is joined by Incineroar using its white alt. Incineroar here represents Nia's blade Dromark, who is a white tiger. It is a stamina battle on Gower Plain with hazards off, and the enemy will heal over time as Nia is the main healer of Xenoblade 2. If you don't own Pyra and Mythra, the music will be Battle Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but if you do, the music will instead be Gormat. Nia is Gormati, that's what the cat people are called, and is from the Titan of Gormat, so the music that plays is the music from that Titan. Nia is a 3-star shield-type primary spirit with 2 slots and the water attack up 1 trait, referencing the fact that her element is water when fighting with Dromark. Number 970 is Tora, a young Nopon boy who looks up to Rex and other drivers and wants to be one himself. However, he lacks the aptitude to become one, so he created an artificial blade in the form of Poppy, who we'll see later on. Like other Nopon characters, Tora is represented by Jigglypuff and is joined in battle by Daisy representing Poppy. They are fought on Gower Plain with hazards off in a stamina battle, and their shields are given extra durability, which references the fact that Tora's weapon when using Poppy Alpha is a shield, and the fact that he is a tank character. The music that plays is Battle Xenoblade Chronicles 2 if you do not own Pyra and Mythra, but if you do, it is replaced with Tiger Tiger. Most blades in the game have a fairly straightforward skill tree to upgrade their capabilities, but Poppy is an artificial blade and is more customizable than others, so she's a bit of an exception, and you get resources to customize her by playing a minigame called Tiger Tiger, so the medley of songs from that game plays while you're fighting Tora. Tora is a 2-star shield-type primary spirit with 3 slots and no special properties. Number 971 is Poppy Alpha, his artificial blade. Poppy has multiple forms, but Alpha is the default form and the one that fights with a shield. She starts off looking like a little kid, but as her forms upgrade, she gets older. As such, she's represented as a Mii Gunner in Alpha form, as Daisy in QT, her middle form, and as Zero Suit Samus in her Cutie Pie form, which, as the name suggests, is basically a Nopon knockoff of Pyra and Mythra and looks the part, which is, why she's ZSS. She's fought on Midgar with hazards off, referencing the Land of Moritha area from Xenoblade 2, where one of her big character moments happens. The Mii Gunner is wearing Dixie Kong's hat, referencing Poppy Alpha's beret, and carries the Drill Gun, referencing her drill shield weapon. Daisy, referencing Poppy QT, has a rocket belt, referencing QT's ability to fly, and Zero Suit is given a beam saber, as Poppy Cutie Pie's weapon of choice is the variable saber, a lightsaber-type sword clearly based on Mythra's Aegis weapon. The assist trophy of Jeff will spawn, as he is also a young scientist that is basically the technological whiz of the party, similar to Tora, and the music that plays is Still Move Forward. Poppy Alpha is a 2-star support spirit that takes up 1 slot and has the shooting attack up 1 property, referencing the fact that she has a lot of projectile attacks despite all her weapons being melee-based. Number 972 is Morag Ladair, a powerful driver and the Special Inquisitor of the Empire of Morardain, who's on a mission to capture the Aegis once she learns that she's been reawakened. Eventually, though, she comes to see eye to eye with the party, and realizes that Pyra and Mythra want to protect the world instead of destroy it, eventually joining them on their quest. She's the driver of Brigid, a powerful fire blade known as the Jewel of the Empire, who's even stronger than the Aegis in her form as Pyra. In battle, Morag and Brigid are represented by Lucina and Palutena respectively in the alts that most resemble them color-wise. They are fought on Battlefield Gower Plain with a lava floor, again representing Brigid's fire type, and you only need to defeat Lucina, representing Morag, to win the battle, as blades are mostly useless when their driver is incapacitated. If you do not own Pyra and Mythra, Battle Xenoblade Chronicles 2 will play yet again, and if you do, Morardain Roaming the Waste will play. Morag is from Morardain, so the theme of that area plays when you fight her. Morag is a 1-star attack-type primary spirit with 1 empty slot, with the special property of Fire Attack up 1, again referencing her abilities as a Fire Blade user and her title of the Flamebringer. Number 973 is Zeke von Genbu, Bringer of Chaos, a powerful, mysterious driver who first shows up as a sort of wacky, goofy comic relief rival to Rex alongside his blade Pandoria. Eventually, though, it's revealed that he's just an envoy from the Indoline Praetorium, more on that later on, and he ends up joining the party, and being a mentor and older brother figure to Rex. Zeke wields a giant sword, so he is represented by Cloud, and Pandoria has glasses, so she is represented by Bayonetta. They are fought on Battlefield Congo Falls for some reason, with the Sudden Final Smash and Zap Floor properties. Pandoria is an electric element blade, so that makes sense, and Zeke has a proclivity for screaming out big ultimate attacks with giant names, so the Final Smash makes sense. You only need to survive until the timer runs out, you don't even need to beat them, which is a reference to the fact that Zeke has incredibly bad luck, and the first 2 times you fight him, you never defeat him in battle, his luck just involves the environment screwing him over and sending him out of the arena in some way. If you do not own Pyra and Mythra, the music that plays will be Those Who Stand Against Our Path from Xenoblade 2, which is just a boss theme, but if you do, Bringer of Chaos Ultimate will play. That is the theme that plays when you fight Zeke the first couple times, so it makes sense. Zeke is a 2-star attack-type primary spirit with 1 slot and no special properties. Skipping to the DLC now, we jump all the way to number 1458 and 1459, the fighter spirits for Pyra and Mythra. As their official art from Xenoblade 2 itself had already been used for the regular spirits, Pyra and Mythra's fighter spirit non-Smash artwork is instead pieces Masasuke Saito drew for the scale figures of those characters. Mythra's outfit needed to be changed to comply with age ratings, and this started with the base game's release and the spirit using her regular artwork from Xenoblade 2. These exact same outfit changes were carried over into a special alternate costume for her in Xenoblade 2 itself, and were again reused for her fighter spirit and her actual in-game appearance as a playable character. Spirit 960 is Rex Master Driver form, which is an upgrade to the original Rex Spirit. The Master Driver outfit is one Rex gets partway through Xenoblade 2's story, when he's finally able to accept Pyra and Mythra for who they are, and they achieve the Ascended form of Numa, which is an extremely powerful state that allows them to take on the most powerful enemies in Allrest. In this Master Driver form, Rex also gains the ability to act as a driver to any blade in the world, including those that are resonated with his allies, and Numa is an extremely powerful transformation that gives you a massive boost in attack capability. Master Driver Rex is a 4-star shield-type primary spirit with 3 slots, and the critical health stats 1 perk, which is sort of a reference to the fact that Rex is a lot more powerful. Numa tends to be used when you're in trouble, and she's incredibly powerful and makes it almost impossible for you to die. Our first spirit battle is number 1461, Laura, who is a driver from 500 years ago and witnessed the tragedies that caused Mythra to be sealed away. She and her blade Jin, who we'll see later, serve as the protagonists of the DLC expansion story Torn of the Golden Country, which details the events that took place in that tragic war. She is represented by Lucina, her second blade Haze is represented by Zelda, and Jin is represented by Cloud. Despite Jin being a white-haired katana user designed by Tetsuya Nomura, he is represented by Cloud and not Sephiroth for 2 reasons. First off, they share a Japanese voice actor, and second off, it is possible to own Pyra and Mythra and not own Sephiroth, so they didn't want to make 2 versions of the spirit battle. There are no special properties, and you only need to defeat the main fighter to win, which very tragically references how, first off, a blade will return to their core crystal if the driver is killed, and second off, the fact that Laura does actually die at the end of Torn of the Golden Country, and Jin using his ice powers preserved her as an icicle, and was able to avoid returning to his core by consuming part of her flesh and becoming a powerful blade human hybrid thing known as a Flesh Eater. The music that plays is Battle Torna, the main battle theme of Torn of the Golden Country. Laura is a 2-star support spirit that takes up 1 slot and has the physical attack up 1 property, referencing the fact that she's a pugilist and fights using her hands and feet and a homemade whip. Number 1462 is Amalthus, the leader of the Indoline Praetorium, which is basically the Vatican on a giant dragon titan, so it's super cool, but he's also kind of a bad guy who wants to destroy the world and is ultimately the main villain of Xenoblade 2, because he was the inciting incident behind the Aegis War, and is the driver of Malos, the second Aegis, and also a general destructive bad guy. He is represented by a giant Dark Samus, as when you fight him, he's not in his normal Blue Pope form, but instead a giant tentacle monster that he becomes after absorbing a bunch of core crystals from Blaze that he's stolen, and basically tries to destroy the world with that. He's also joined by 5 Robins, which represent the Indoline Loyalists, who also have to fight along the way to get to him, and is fought on Omega Shadow Moses Island, representing the level of the World Tree, which ends up being a giant mechanical structure that you fight him on. He has super armor and moves slow, it's a stamina battle, and reinforcements will appear after enemies are KO'd. The music that plays is Praetor Amalthus, the Acting God, which is his battle theme, and a remix of which is used as the battle theme when you fight Malos in Torna the Golden Country, referencing the fact that Amalthus is really the one behind everything and Malos isn't even in full control of his own actions. Amalthus is a 3-star support spirit that takes up 2 slots and has the First Strike Advantage trait, which references the fact that after the end of Torna the Golden Country, he's able to take over the Indoline Praetorium and then by extension the entire world through subterfuge and assassinations. Number 1463 is Jin, an extremely powerful ice blade known as the Paragon of Torna, who is the leader of Torna the organization 500 years later in the time of the main game. He's an extremely tragic villain, and you get to see his entire backstory play out in full basically in the DLC expansion, where you see that he was a complete good guy driven to drastic ends, and a good friend of Mythra's in the past. He's again represented by Cloud in this fight, and it's fought on Omega Summit with an ice floor referencing his ice abilities, and with the move speed up trait because Jin's big claim to fame is being extremely fast. It's a stamina battle, and the music that plays is Crossing Swords, which is a cutscene track that occasionally plays during fights with Jin. Jin is a 3-star neutral type primary spirit with 2 slots. The type represents 2 things. First off, the fact that he is a hero or a villain depending on which era of the story you're playing through, and second off, he does briefly join the party a couple times during Xenoblade 2, and does not have any element. He is neutral element and not ice in those cases. He also has the speed up 1 trait, again referencing the fact that guy go fast. Number 1464 is Jin's old enemy and current partner, Malos, the second Aegis and the one who's really behind the destruction 500 years ago. He is basically a high-ranked member of Torna, but is just a normal driver for the most part of Xenoblade 2 because his core crystal is damaged, so he lacks a lot of his Aegis power. In battle in Torna, and later on in Xenoblade 2 when he does get all his power back, he fights with a purple version of the Monado, further drawing parallels between Xenoblade 1 and 2. In his spirit battle, he's represented by Richter because they actually do look kind of alike, and is joined by 3 giant Ridleys in the Metal Ridley skin, referencing the fact that he often summons Artifice Gargoyles, a type of mech that's sort of dragon-shaped, as backup in Torna. He's fought on Gower Plain in a normal fight where you just need to defeat the main fighter to win. The music that plays is Incoming, which is a battle track that plays basically every single time you fight Malos. Malos is a 4-star neutral type primary spirit with 1 slot, and the Battering Items Power Up 1 trait. That trait doesn't really follow from anything I've said, but before Malos gains his Monado back in Xenoblade 2, he instead fights as the driver of a blade named Sever, who is a wind element blade with a weapon called a Sword Tonfa, which is basically a Tonfa with a blade on it, and is primarily a bludgeoning thing, so Malos is proficient in bludgeoning damage. Last but certainly not least, we arrive at Numa, the first spirit to have art made specifically for Smash because she had 0 complete official artwork up until that point. Pyra and Mythra's green emerald skin is based on her, and as I mentioned before, she is sort of in ascended state, not quite a true form because it's Pyra and Mythra combined and they're still separate people, but it is the full power of the Aegis realized and gives her a ludicrous power output, making her the strongest blade in the world and giving her some minor reality warping abilities, which are used to great effect at various points once she's awakened. She is of course represented by Pyra and Mythra using the skin based on her, and joined by another Shulk representing Rex. She's fought on Cloud Sea of Aures to the song Counterattack, which is a cutscene song that frequently plays when Rex and the party, including Pyra, Mythra, and Numa, do a good thing. She has 3 special conditions, the first of which is Metal Shift. In gameplay, Numa is a temporary super mode that you can activate in battle and has the highest defenses in the game, as well as the special ability to save Rex from death 1 time per transformation. That's what the medal represents. She also has move speed up, which references more of a cutscene thing. The first scene where Numa comes out, she uses her reality warping powers to allow Rex to accelerate to match Jin's ludicrous speed. She will also occasionally have a final smash. This is a reference to a couple things. One of Xenoblade 2's mechanics is the special system, where while you normally control the driver, once you build up a special gauge, you can pass the weapon to a blade for them to use the special. Pyra and Mythra's special moves in Smash are based on their specials, and their final smashes are based on the level 4 special, which is a blade driver combined attack. When you activate Numa, Rex will automatically gain a special to use, so Numa sometimes having a final smash is a reference to that. She's a 4-star support spirit that takes up 2 slots and has the critical healing and metal traits. The metal again references her ludicrous defenses, and the critical heal represents a couple things. First off is obviously the ability to save Rex from death. Second off is the fact that when Numa is out, the party has a guaranteed 100% critical rate, and she also uses her reality warping powers to heal Jin's core crystal a little bit at one point in the story. And that's it. That's all of them. I'm done. I'm completely and totally done with this. If you're not a Luxon viewer or Xenoblade fan, thank you so much for sticking with me through all this. If you're not a Xenoblade fan, I would recommend you try out the series. It's great. Very good games. But, yeah, I'm, again, sorry that I'm not doing more of these. I feel like I'm only qualified to talk about my favorite series of all time, and I've touched on 30-something out of over 1,500 spirits, and I just don't have the time to do the rest of those. So, thanks for watching, and if you do want to stick around and watch more Xeno content from me, until next time, this is Luxon, signing off.